The 1998 Indianapolis Colts thought they may have had the next great set of triplets on their hands. With Peyton Manning, Marvin Harrison, and Marshall Faulk, they believed this trio could make them a dominant force in the AFC for years to come. Marshall Faulk made the Pro Bowl in 3 out of his first 4 seasons, and following year 4, the 25-year-old running back was looking to get paid. But the Colts, who had drafted a future Hall of Fame quarterback, was confident that they could replace their future Hall of Fame running back. Bold move, to be honest, but they had an ace in the hole: the 4th overall pick in the 1999 NFL Draft. Now, the media was convinced that this pick was meant for Ricky Williams. Both the New York Times and Chicago Tribune reported as much. But the move they actually made would shock the football world. And that same electricity sparked the beginning of what should have been the next great dynasty in the league. On April 16, 1999, the Indianapolis Colts traded a Hall of Fame running back. And on April 17, 1999, the Indianapolis Colts drafted another one. He's an NFL legend who sometimes gets forgotten, but he was a crucial part of those early Peyton Manning teams. So today I'm telling the story of Edgerrin James and how he completed his journey from gold teeth to gold jacket. Chew the Wayne.
Yeah, I'm no quitter, 'cause I'ma go get her.
Edgerrin James is one of a kind, but bro, so are you. So protect your unique and sensitive personal information by using today's video sponsor, Aura. I'm excited to partner with Aura as today's video sponsor. It's an easy to use app that provides everything you need to stay safe online. Aura protects you from scammers and hackers by scanning the so-called dark web, a place where criminals sell stolen information, your emails or passwords or social security numbers. Aura alerts you immediately if they detect anything. Aura helps you to fight back against those annoying websites that make your personal info public. They do this by automatically requesting removal of your info, and this helps reduce those annoying robocalls. Aura gives you near real-time alerts on suspicious credit inquiries, like if somebody was trying to take out a loan or a credit card in your name. Aura can put a stop to that. Their VPN allows you to stay anonymous online by keeping your browsing history and personal info safe and encrypted. Aura even helps you manage what your kids can do online. You can restrict specific apps, set screen time limits, and even set focus times to make sure your kid is doing their homework, not watching this video on YouTube. And they also have a password manager that helps you store your passwords, and you can access them online securely and conveniently. You might already have an app that does one of these things, but with Aura, you don't have to keep up with 7 different apps. So let Aura do the hard work of keeping you safe online. And if you sign up right now, you get a 2-week free trial. All you gotta do, click my link in the description, and you'll probably be shocked at how much of your personal info is out there. So go to aura.com/FlemLo to start your free trial, and it's also linked in the description. Additionally, you can scan the QR code that's here on the screen in the upper right hand corner. Man, shout out to Aura once again for sponsoring today's video. Without further ado, it's time to jump back in. Edgerrin James grew up in the small town of Immokalee, Florida. A town that's pretty well known for their heavy involvement in agriculture, but it hasn't done very much for the town's economy, as about half its residents still live in poverty. So Edgerrin himself was no different growing up, and the shortage in funds meant Edge and his 5 siblings was constantly moving around. When money got too tight, Edge's mom and his siblings would end up right back at his grandma's house, sleeping on a mattress in the kitchen. The good news for Edge was the fact that his huge extended families of uncles and cousins would always look out for him. Those same uncles were the ones who spotted the talent in him early. Edge's uncles would try to convince his mom to let him play football, but completely understandably, just like a lot of parents, she had concerns because obviously the sport's dangerous. But in the area they were in, they seen so many fall to drugs, some selling, most using. And as she weighed her child's options, she eventually relented. Because while every path was dangerous, one very clearly offered the most legal upside.
Your mom was a cafeteria worker, made $17,000 a year. You see what she's going through to try to provide for you and your family. What kind of fire did that light inside of you? It's like, man, look at what my mom's going through. My mom shouldn't have to work this hard. I got to get up out of here.
You want to be the one that saved the day, you know, and like make sure this lady don't have to work, don't have to do nothing the rest of her life. And important to say, okay, look, if I got an opportunity to do something, let me make the most out of it. And that's why with football, you know, that was my opportunity.
Edge grew up in the 80s idolizing Walter Payton, one of the greatest running backs in NFL history. So Edge would watch Walter, then go outside and mimic him. And as he played pickup ball in the streets, he would make the moves his own. His uncles eventually took him from street ball to Pop Warner, and instantly, he was the most dominant player on the field. This would remain the case throughout much of his career, but he never once took his unique talent for granted. Early on, Edge was categorized in unflattering ways. This was mostly due to his locks and gold teeth. But the folks who couldn't see past the shine in his grill completely missed the two traits that describe Edgerrin best. When you listen to his old teammates rave about the dude, the way he's mostly described is calculated and disciplined. He would plan out everything, locked in on the detail, then use his non-wavering discipline to stay the course. By the time he hit high school, he knew exactly what he wanted to do. And not like dude on the VR commercial spouting out pipe dreams. I want to be the starting quarterback right now with zero work done. To all the kids, that's BS. Edge put the work in. You want to hear what Edgerrin James called this cheat code in high school? His top secret cheat code was old-fashioned grind work. I used to wake up at 5 in the morning before school and do workouts by myself in a field behind my house. Then I shower and go to school like nothing ever happened. I didn't tell nobody, even my boys. It was my secret weapon. Now, it doesn't say explicitly where he got this idea, but I grew up watching NFL Network every day, which makes it very easy for me to connect these dots. So way back in the day, many legends of the game had these historic workouts. Like you'd always hear about this stuff they would do in the offseason. Jerry Rice had this infamous heel that he would run, and supposedly other players would try it and struggle. But just like some of the most popular song remakes, a lot of people actually don't realize it's a cover. So before Rice did it, guess who ran the heel? The legend himself, Edge's idol, Walter Payton. Throughout his life, Edgerrin James put out an impossible balancing act. A Florida boy to his core, fully a part of that culture, but he managed to do it without ever getting in trouble. He navigated two worlds and made it all look seamless. Edgerrin James was so damn authentic that he could live two different lives without changing who he was. My personal experience tells me that's really hard to do. When I worked a corporate job, after a few years, I started to lose myself. I think this happens to most people, but they're not self-aware to see it, so it may not seem like a huge deal, but to me it's pretty damn rare. So here you got a Florida kid who admired Florida street dudes, but at the same time he also idolized Walter Payton, and somehow he took the best bits from each of his influences. He grew into the perfect balance of hard work and swag. So when Edge was in high school, he needed money one summer. He could take the street approach or the Walter Payton approach. He chose Walter and got a job at the watermelon patch, and there he worked the whole summer in the scorching ass heat. When he got the amount he needed, he moved with swiftness to the next phase, carried out his game plan with calculated precision. His first purchase was a car, essential to the rest of the plan. Then he drove said car from Immokalee to Miami. This was serious business. It had to be done right, and with everything in place, he underwent a transformation. So he got his hair twisted and put the goals in his mouth. Drove back to Immokalee, but would end up in Canton. So to look like one influence, he took the approach of the other one, which is kind of poetic when you really think about it. The outcome should teach us that it's the approach that matters, but we stupidly put the importance on the look. As a high school junior, he rushed for 2,000 yards and 29 touchdowns, but when his senior season rolled around, dude would get injured, missing the first 5 games. With Edge missing 5 games, the team started 0-5. When he came back and played the next 5, they went 4-1. In only those 5 games, he had 1,300 yards. And just for good measure, he scored 10 touchdowns as well. At the same time Edge was putting up these numbers, the University of Miami was actually being sanctioned. Uncle Luke from 2 Live Crew and other notable Miami big dogs were said to be giving Hurricane players money for touchdowns and big plays. It was basically the underground NIL scene, back when the NCAA still thought they could avoid this. Because of that, Miami was operating with reduced scholarships, and if Edge decided to go there, they would be for his whole tenure. But despite all of that, it was basically home for him. so he ignored the sanctions and accepted a scholarship to Miami. It was initially thought that Edge would redshirt his first year, but injuries and arrest moved him up the depth chart. Dude was ready from day one and easily handled the load, gaining 446 yards in only 7 games played. Dude averaged 6.2 yards per carry, and he got into the end zone a couple times as well. Despite all the sanctions, Miami went 9-3, and they also went on to win their bowl game that season. For Edgerrin James, that was a great way to start off, but it was the next 2 seasons that would make him a legend. He became the first player in the history of the university to rush for back-to-back 1,000+ yard seasons. And his best season actually started out slow, as he admits he was present early on in his junior year. He'd worked so hard in that offseason and he knew a lot was riding on it. He'd formulated this plan, but it was going off the rails. But if you're gonna be calculated, you have to be disciplined. So he maintained his focus and regained control. He stayed the course, relaxed, and by the end of the season, he looked back at the best year of his entire college career. 1,400 yards, 17 touchdowns, all while breaking prestigious records along the way. Some Miami legends like Trick Daddy feel Edge is the best back out of the school, out of all the fire running backs that Miami has ever had. So while Edge was in college, despite no NIL, dude still had access to the full rapper lifestyle. He maybe indulged on some fronts, but he never got in trouble. The way he chose to keep control, he never drank, he never smoked. He hung out, he was cool, but he maintained discipline. This point that he was at now is one of the hardest times to do so. So discipline is hard, but it leads to success. But as success comes, the resistance starts to really change. Some people will find it easy to grind when you got nothing. But when you get a little success, it's real easy to lose focus. Grown men go to Miami every year and get lost. Not geographically, I mean lost in that life. Edge was near the top of the food chain. As a star at the U, we're talking a team that was easily more popular than the Dolphins. To navigate that and not have a single drink. To have fun but move in a way that never jeopardizes your future. It really takes a different type of discipline to do this. And that's the thing that stuck out to me most researching this video. So this finally brings us back to the point I spoke about in the intro. The 98 Colts with Peyton, Marvin, and Marshall. They trade Falk on the 16th, draft his replacement the next day. With the 4th overall pick in the 1999 draft, Edgerrin James was the first running back to be selected. Now the Indianapolis Colts got flamed for the pick. Not only did they trade Falk, but they passed on Ricky Williams. Dude had just won the Heisman. He was the consensus top back, while Edge was coming from a program decimated by sanctions. By this time, the U was seen as a shell of its old self. Many NFL team reps were scared to approach Edgerrin because his signature look caused people to prejudge him. But the ones who took the time to sit down and interview him would uncover the best kept secret in the draft. When you looked under the hood, he was already a pro. Unlike Ricky Williams, who was more of a free spirit, Edge's personality was built for the league. From the outside looking in, it seemed he didn't belong in Indy. But if you really look close, it was always a natural fit. Edgerrin James was a hard worker who over-prepared, a perfectionist who wanted every detail mastered. He also didn't talk a lot. Like the team's star receiver, he was a quiet superstar. And even though he was reserved, he never lacked confidence. And when he went out on the field, his game spoke volumes. Edge's career started out with a crazy amount of pressure. He was replacing Marshall Faulk, picked ahead of Ricky Williams. If Edge wanted to prove he would have the better pro career, he wouldn't have to wait long, as the season kicked off. First game out the gate, the rookies played in the same time slot. But while Ricky split carries after missing time in training camp, Edge was a 3-down back from day one. Edge hadn't just dreamed about making the NFL. This dude had actually planned his approach. He wanted to know how he could make the most money long term. Many are just thinking how to make the most up front. He took a small hit on the signing bonus and laced the deal with incentives, and those would be tough to hit, But if he hit him, his approach would actually make him the highest paid rookie ever. And that's not hyperbole. If he hit every one of his bonuses, dude would max out at $14.8 million. In his rookie season alone, here's how crazy that was. His teammate Peyton Manning was a rookie the year before. He was the first overall pick and obviously a quarterback. He made $12.5 million in his rookie season. Today it's even less. The last first overall pick who was a quarterback was Joe Burrow. He made $9.8. Edge's $9.5 million signing bonus almost covers that. And he had another $5 million he could earn in incentives. So again, if he hit the numbers that he needed to hit, he could max out as the highest paid player in their rookie season. So that was 4 marks he needed to hit to max out the deal. 700 yards rushing, then 1,000 yards rushing, then 1,250, and the highest was 1,500 yards. He looked at the number and did what any calculated person would. He went home and made a chart, broke it down by game. Week 1 through 16, he knew how much he needed. Then after every contest, he'd go and mark his progress. But in order to get the yards, you need to be on the field. And the only way to do that is to be a complete back. Yeah, you gotta run the ball, but you gotta pass protect your ass off. Catch the ball when necessary, convert short yardage, get chunk plays. That's the full package. Plus, conditioning gotta be on point. You gotta know the playbook in and out. Peyton Manning calling 50 audibles. So did he hit his incentives? I don't know. Let's find out. We'll start in week 9 of Edgerrin's rookie season. He gets 90 receiving yards that don't count towards his money, but he also rushed for over 100 for the 5th time that season. And this 109 rush yards put him at 746 for the year. So easily, really, he flew past his first incentive. And halfway through the season, he was halfway to the goal. When it was time to pass 1,000, he had his best game as a pro. He rushed for 152 with 2 tuds for good measure. Then with 1 game to spare, he passed 1,500 yards, completely maxing out the first year of his contract. As dope as that is, it's not even the craziest part. He outrushed Ricky Williams, outrushed Marshall Faulk. He outrushed everybody because he led the league in rushing. People thought he wasn't the top running back in his draft class, but as a rookie, he proved to be the top rusher in the league. Now, please understand, Marshall Faulk was something different. He rushed for 1,300 yards, but also had 1,000 receiving yards. That's the most yards he ever gained from scrimmage in one season, and it was enough to win him Offensive Player of the Year. But while he definitely had a better overall season, the Rookie of the Year wasn't too far behind him. That's a 16 touchdown season, 2,000 total yards, as the Colts went from 3-13 to 13-3. Bro, the next year he led the league in rushing again, 1,700 yards, and still produced in the pass game. He was so good he could make one of the most regimented players just forget his fundamentals in the middle of a game. Of course, I'm talking about Peyton Manning, who I've heard tell his story of not carrying out his fakes when handing the ball to Edgerrin James. He said he used to get caught turning around too fast, all because he wanted to watch Edge do his thing. Now, if you know how meticulous Peyton Manning is about all these little nuances of the quarterback position, for Edgerrin James to be able to make that dude skip steps, that's like a young actor in his first big time role making Denzel break character. You know what I'm saying? Like, how crazy is that?
I'd be crying right now. That was Denzel Washington, yo. Okay, so y'all got all of this on camera?
Peyton Manning also said of all the greats he's played with, that Edgerrin James is the best teammate he ever had. That's why so often after changing a play 7 times at the line, Jeff Saturday snapped the ball and Peyton turned and did this. When the quarterback has control of the entire offense, and all game he's changing pass plays to a run. To me, that's just one of the biggest compliments that your quarterback can get. During his 7 years with the Indianapolis Colts, Edge rushed for 1,500 plus yards on 4 different occasions. Dude opened his career with back-to-back rushing titles, and outside of 2 injured years, he maintained his level of production. But like Marshall Faulk before him, when that rookie contract ended, the way the Colts account was set up, they refused to pay a running back. So in 2006, Edge left his new home and he signed for $30 million with the Arizona Cardinals. Now in the beginning, notice I said they should have became a dynasty as they made the playoffs in 6 out of 7 years with Edge. But the one thing that always pissed me off about this Colts team was that they didn't win the Super Bowl until the year Edge left. He was a huge part of that team, and yeah man, business is business. So both him and the Colts had to do what they had to do. As a nice consolation, Irsay sent them a ring, as he was definitely a part of the championship culture they built. Dude was a winner through and through, a complete back and a dog. Only 2 years after the Colts won their Super Bowl, Edgerrin and the Cardinals got to one of their own. In 2008, they won the NFC Championship, but unfortunately, they came up just short in the Super Bowl. So he wasn't coming off his best individual season, but from a team standpoint, this was his most successful year. But sadly, sometimes when you see him at your highest, things sometimes seem to happen that pull you back down to earth. April 2009, there was a tragedy in the James family, as Edge's longtime girlfriend and the mother of his kids sadly lost a battle with leukemia as she passed away at only 30 years of age. To be there for his family and take the time to cope, Edgerrin asked the Cardinals to release him from the team. The next year, he signed briefly with the Seattle Seahawks, but after that one didn't last, he walked away from the game. The athletic genes really run through his family, from his 6 kids who he's always taken care of and been a dad, to his little cousin Derwin, who most of y'all probably heard of. When he left Indianapolis, he was the franchise leading rusher. And while Edge really doesn't get talked about a ton, he's still 13th all time in rushing yards in the league. For those who didn't think he can hang with Ricky Williams and Marshall Faulk, they had to watch him join the 10,000 yard club with both of them. He finished with over 2,000 more yards than Ricky Williams, and only 33 yards behind the Hall of Famer he replaced. Edgerrin James successfully merged 2 lifestyles pretty seamlessly. And looking at it, bro, he made it all look so easy that I think his story actually gets underappreciated, as he found the perfect balance between his 2 childhood idols.
My career started with gold teeth and ended with this gold jacket.